The airlock exploded inward, and Marcus dove behind a supply crate as plasma fire tore through the corridor. He wasn't supposed to be here. Janitors didn't carry weapons, janitors didn't fight, but the three small figures huddled behind him in the maintenance shaft weren't supposed to be targets either. "Stay down," he hissed, glancing back at the Empress's daughters. The oldest, maybe 10 in human years, clutched her younger sisters tight. Their silver skin shimmered with fear. Those massive violet eyes locked on him like he was their last hope. He was. The attackers wore black armor, no insignia, professionals. They moved through the royal wing methodically, executing anyone who stood between them and the children. Marcus had been buffing floors when the first scream started. He'd grabbed the girls from their study room while their guards died buying seconds. "Human, they are coming," the eldest whispered, her voice musical even in terror. Marcus grabbed a loose pipe from the wall, tested its weight. Laughable, they had plasma rifles, and he had plumbing. The most human thing ever. Boots thundered closer. 3 hostiles, weapons raised, scanning for heat signatures. They'd find the girls in moments. He stepped out. The first attacker turned, rifle rising. Marcus swung the pipe into the weapon's barrel, redirecting the shot into the ceiling. Molten metal rained down. He drove his shoulder into the soldier's chest, using momentum and surprise. They crashed into the wall together. The second attacker fired. Marcus twisted, felt heat sear past his ribs. He wrenched the first soldier's rifle free and fired blind. The shot went wide, but the attacker dove for cover. "Run!" Marcus shouted to the girls. Maintenance shaft 17, go. The third soldier aimed at the fleeing children. Marcus threw the rifle like a spear. It hit the soldier's helmet, cracking the visor. He charged before the attacker recovered, tackling him through a doorway into the garden atrium. They rolled across luminescent grass, exchanging brutal close-quarter strikes. The soldier was trained, augmented, faster. Marcus was desperate and creative. He grabbed a handful of the bioluminescent soil and shoved it into the cracked visor. The soldier screamed, clawing at his face. Marcus ran. The girls waited at shaft 17, eyes wide. "You are injured?" the eldest said, staring at the blood spreading across his maintenance uniform. "Doesn't matter. Move." They climbed down into the station's infrastructure, pipes and conduits providing cover. Explosions echoed above. The attackers were getting impatient, destroying sections systematically. "Why do you help us?" the middle daughter asked, her voice small. Marcus didn't slow. "Because you're kids. That's enough. Our mother will reward you greatly." "Not doing it for rewards, sweetheart." More footsteps above. They were being hunted through the walls of the station itself. Marcus led them deeper, into sections even he barely knew. His tablet showed station schematics, but half the passages were damaged from the initial assault. They needed extraction. They needed the Empress's forces to break through. They needed a miracle. What they had was a janitor with a pipe and 3 terrified children in a station full of killers. Marcus checked his tablet. One route remained to the emergency pods. Narrow, exposed, heavily monitored. "All right," he said. "Here's what we're going to do." The emergency pod bay was a kill zone, and Marcus knew it. 20 meters of open corridor, no cover. Security cameras broadcasting their position to anyone watching. The assassins would be waiting. "Stay behind me," he told the girls. "When I say move, you run straight to pod 7. Don't stop. Don't look back." The eldest gripped his hand. "You will die, probably, but you won't." He stepped into the corridor and immediately drew fire. Plasma bolts scorched the air where his head had been a second before. He rolled left, using a broken ventilation grate as minimal cover. 2 shooters positioned at opposite ends. Smart. Professional. Deadly. Marcus pulled a canister from his maintenance belt. Industrial cleaning solvent. Highly flammable. He sparked his lighter against it and hurled the makeshift explosive toward the nearest attacker. The explosion wasn't large, but the chemical fire spread fast across the polished floor, creating a wall of flame. "Move," the girl sprinted. Marcus laid down, suppressing fire with the rifle he'd taken earlier. not aiming, just keeping heads down. The second shooter tracked the children, finger tightening on the trigger. Marcus threw himself into the line of fire. The plasma bolt caught his shoulder, spinning him like a top. Pain exploded through his nervous system, but he kept his feet, kept shooting, kept the bastard's attention locked on him instead of 3 running children. They reached the pod. The door slid open. Safe. Then the eldest stopped, turned back. "No," Marcus screamed. "Get in the pod." "You must come with us," she shouted, those violet eyes pleading. The shooters were flanking, moving through the fire. Marcus was bleeding badly now, vision tunneling. He'd never make it to the pod. But if he stayed, if he held them here just 30 more seconds, the girls could launch. "Go," he said, and shot out the corridor's support beam. The ceiling collapsed between them. Metal and wire and composite materials crashed down, sealing the pod bay off from the attackers, also sealing it off from Marcus. Through the debris, he could see the eldest daughter crying, her sisters pulling her into the pod. The door closed. The pod launched. They were safe. Marcus slumped against the wall, rifle falling from numb fingers. Footsteps approached from behind. The attackers had found another route. Of course they had. He was out of tricks, out of strength, out of time. The lead assassin rounded the corner, weapon raised, removed his helmet. Human face, cold eyes, expensive augments. "You cost us a fortune, Janitor." The contract was simple. 3 targets. "You made it complicated." "That's what I do." Marcus coughed blood. "Complicate things for assholes. Any last words?" "Yeah." "You should have checked the manifest." The assassin frowned. Then the wall behind him exploded. Imperial shock troops poured through, weapons blazing. The girl's pod had transmitted its emergency beacon the moment it launched. The Empress's personal guard had just breached the station. The assassins fought, but they were outgunned, outmaneuvered, and very suddenly outnumbered. The firefight lasted maybe 30 seconds. Brutal, efficient, final. A towering alien warrior approached Marcus, armor gleaming with royal insignia. "You are the one who saved the daughters?" Marcus tried to stand, failed. "Just doing the right thing." "The Empress is aboard the flagship. She demands to meet you." "Great. Tell her I need a medic first." They carried him to the medical bay, where alien technology knitted his wounds with unsettling efficiency. The pain faded, but the exhaustion remained. Morose. He'd burned through every reserve of strength and adrenaline his body possessed. When he finally stood, shakily, an Imperial escort waited. They led him through the reclaimed station to a shuttle. Through the viewport he saw the Empress's flagship, massive and magnificent, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. The shuttle docked. Doors opened onto a throne room that made cathedrals look modest, and there, descending from a dais of flowing crystal, was the Empress herself. 3 meters tall, her silver skin marked with intricate patterns of authority, crown of living light floating above her head. Behind her, the 3 daughters stood in formal robes, unharmed, alive. The Empress stopped before Marcus. Her presence was overwhelming, ancient power and absolute authority radiating from every movement. Then she knelt. The entire court gasped. Imperial guards, advisors, nobles, all frozen in shock. Empresses didn't kneel. Not to anyone, not ever. "You saved my children," she said, voice resonating through the chamber. "You are human. You had no weapons, no armor, no obligation, yet you fought trained killers to protect those not of your species." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. They were kids. Wasn't going to let them die. "My intelligence says you are a maintenance worker." "You clean floors." "Yes, Your Majesty." She rose, towering over him again, and something like wonder filled her ancient eyes. "Tell me, human, what salary does one pay the guardian of empresses?" The Empress led Marcus through corridors of impossible architecture, her daughters trailing behind in reverent silence. Guards lined the walls, their expressions unreadable behind ornate helmets. They entered a private chamber where holographic star charts rotated above a crystal table. "Sit," the Empress commanded, gesturing to a chair that adjusted itself to human dimensions. Marcus sat. His shoulder still ached despite the alien healing. The eldest daughter approached, placed a small hand on his arm. You were hurt because of me, because I hesitated. You were scared. That's allowed. My name is Lyra, she said quietly. My sisters are Nova and Celeste. We wish to know the name of the one who saved us. Marcus Garrett. The Empress circled the table, her movements predatory and graceful. Marcus Garrett, former military dishonorably discharged for insubordination. You refused an order to fire on civilian targets during the colony uprising on Kepler 9. Marcus tensed. You did your homework. I protect my children by knowing everything. You have been cleaning floors on this station for 3 years. Overqualified, underpaid, invisible. Until today. Today got complicated. The assassins were Vraxian death merchants, the Empress continued, hired by the Calthan Syndicate to eliminate my lineage. They infiltrated this neutral station because they believed my daughters would be vulnerable here during the cultural exchange program. Nova, the middle daughter, spoke up. They killed everyone in our wing, guards, tutors, diplomats. 23 people died protecting us before Marcus found us. The Empress's expression hardened. And they would have succeeded if not for a janitor with a pipe. I used cleaning solvent, too, Marcus said. Pretty effective, Lyra laughed, surprising everyone. The sound broke some of the tension. You make jokes while bleeding, the Empress observed. Very human. It's either that or scream. Jokes are better. The Empress touched the star chart, expanding it to show sectors of contested space. The Calthan Syndicate controls 17 systems. They have been challenging my authority for decades, testing boundaries, assassinating key figures. This attack was their boldest move yet. So what happens now? War, the Empress said simply. They struck at my children. There can be no other response. Celesta, the youngest, looked up with wide eyes. Mother, must there be more death? The Empress softened, kneeling to her daughter's level. Child, some predators only understand strength. We show weakness and they will strike again, kill again, take what they believe is theirs by right of violence. Marcus understood that logic. He'd seen it play out on a dozen human worlds. Peace through strength wasn't idealism, it was survival. But first, the Empress stood, focusing on Marcus again, I must address the debt I owe. No debt, Your Majesty. I just did what needed doing. You are human. Your species has a saying, no good deed goes unpunished. You risked everything for those not your own kind, expecting nothing in return. This is either profound nobility or profound stupidity. Little of both, probably. I offer you a position. Captain of my daughter's personal guard. You would command 50 elite warriors, have access to our finest weapons and armor, receive training in combat techniques perfected over millennia. Marcus blinked. I'm a janitor. You are a protector. The occupation is irrelevant. Lyra gripped his hand tighter. Please say yes. We trust you. You fought for us when you had every reason to run. It was tempting. Real purpose, real pay, a chance to matter again. But Marcus had learned something about himself during those years cleaning floors. He'd learned who he was when stripped of rank and duty and expectation. I appreciate the offer, he said carefully, but I'm not a soldier anymore. Haven't been for a long time. The Empress studied him with those ancient eyes. You are afraid you will fail them. I'm afraid I'll become what I was. Someone who follows orders without question until the orders become unforgivable. Yet today you acted without orders. You chose to protect rather than preserve yourself. Today was different. Today was clear. Military service is rarely that simple. Nova stepped forward. Then be our friend instead. Not a guard, not a soldier. Just someone who cares about us. The innocence in that request hit harder than any plasma bolt. These children had watched everyone they trusted die today. They were grasping for something stable, something human and real. I can do that, Marcus said quietly. I can be your friend. The Empress nodded, satisfied. Then you will remain on this station. I am purchasing it outright. It will become a protected cultural center, heavily defended, truly neutral ground.
You will work here.
But not as a janitor. Then as what? As whatever you choose. Liaison, cultural advisor, security consultant. I care not for titles. I care that my daughters will see you regularly, that you will be present in their lives. Marcus looked at the three girls, at their hopeful faces, and silver skin and two wise eyes. All right. I can work with that. Lyra smiled, genuine and bright. Will you teach us about Earth? About humanity. Sure, though fair warning, most of human history is us doing incredibly stupid things and barely surviving. That sounds exciting, Nova grinned. The Empress gestured, and guards opened the chamber doors. Rest now, Marcus Garrett. Heal. Tomorrow we discuss the future. Tonight, you have earned peace. But peace was a luxury the universe rarely granted for long. Marcus woke to alarm screaming through the station. He rolled out of bed, grabbed the plasma rifle the Empress had insisted he keep, and hit the comm panel. What's happening? Calvin warships just dropped out of hyperspace, a panicked voice responded. 12 vessels, full battle configuration. They're demanding we surrender the Empress and her daughters. But the station shuddered as weapons fire impacted shields. But Maba was accord? Through the viewport, space lit up with energy beams and missile trails. The Empress's flagship was returning fire, but it was outnumbered. Marcus reached the royal quarters and found Imperial guards already positioned. Lyra, Nova, and Celeste stood with their mother, dressed in formal armor that seemed too heavy for their small frames. You should be in the escape pods, Marcus said. The Empress turned, her expression carved from ice. We do not flee. Not anymore. What? Calvin expect fear. Today they learn regret. Your Majesty, they have 12 warships, and I have something they do not. Fury. The station rocked again. Systems flickered. One of the Calton vessels was breaking formation, accelerating toward them on a collision course. Ramming speed, the guard captain reported. They're going to crack us open. The Empress moved to a control console, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. Then we ensure they pay the price for their aggression. Marcus watched as she activated the station's hidden weapons systems. Panels slid open across the hull, revealing military-grade cannons that definitely violated several neutrality treaties. The station wasn't just a cultural center. It was a fortress. Fire erupted from every angle. The ramming vessel exploded in a cascade of superheated metal. 2 more Calthan ships broke off, regrouping. Mother, Myra said quietly. The syndicate leader is broadcasting. The Empress nodded. A hologram materialized, showing a reptilian creature with scarred scales and cold, calculating eyes. His voice hissed through the translation matrix. Empress, your children were meant to die quietly. You have made this personal. So now I make you an offer. Surrender yourself, and I will spare the station, spare your daughters, spare the thousands of civilians aboard. Refuse, and I will reduce everything to debris. The 3 girls moved closer to their mother. Celeste was crying silently. The Empress stood tall. You believe you hold leverage, syndicate filth? You believe I will sacrifice myself to save others? This is your fundamental misunderstanding of my species. We do not negotiate with those who threaten our young. Then you condemn them to death. No. I condemn you. She cut the transmission and turned to her guard captain. Evacuate all non-combatants to the lower decks. Seal the royal wing. Prepare for boarding action. Your Majesty, they will overwhelm us. Perhaps. But they will bleed for every meter. Marcus stepped forward. There's another option. Everyone looked at him. They want you. They're focused on this station. Their formation is tight, protecting their flagship where the syndicate leader is probably directing the battle. Your point, human? Their attention is here, which means it's not on their own ships. The Empress's eyes widened slightly. You suggest a boarding action against a Calthan warship. against their flagship specifically. Cut the head off the snake. That is insane, suicidal, impossibly reckless. Yeah, very human, the guard captain sputtered. We cannot risk the Empress on such a venture. Not the Empress, Marcus said. Me and a small team, fast insertion, hit their command deck, create chaos. They'll have to pull ships back to defend their leader. Gives your flagship room to maneuver. Lyra grabbed his arm. You will die. Maybe, but sitting here definitely gets everyone killed. The Empress studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled, predatory and sharp. You truly are insane. I approve. Captain, assemble a strike team, 5 of our best. Arm them with breach charges and close-quarter weapons. Your Majesty, I must protest. Your protest is noted and dismissed. Marcus is correct. The Kalpan expect us to defend. They do not expect us to attack. 10 minutes later, Marcus stood in the shuttle bay wearing Imperial armor that felt too advanced and too tight. 5 alien warriors surrounded him, each one a veteran of countless battles. They regarded him with something between skepticism and curiosity. Human, one growled. You have fought before? Yeah, not like this, though. Then stay behind us. Try not to die embarrassingly. The shuttle launched, skimming below the battle, using debris as cover. The Kaltan flagship loomed ahead, massive and bristling with weapons. It was designed to intimidate, built for conquest. Their pilot was exceptional, threading through weapons fire with impossible precision. They approached the flagship's underside where sensors had detected a maintenance hatch. 30 seconds to breach, the pilot announced. Marcus checked his rifle. The Kalpan were reptilian, heavily armored, vicious in close combat. This was going to hurt. The shuttle clamped onto the hull. Breach charges fired. Metal screamed and tore. Atmosphere vented in a violent rush. Go, go, go! They poured through the opening into chaos. Keltan crew scrambled for weapons. The Imperial warriors moved like flowing water, precise and lethal. Marcus followed, firing controlled bursts, watching angles, covering gaps. They fought through corridors painted with alien blood. Alarms shrieked. Blast doors sealed and were blown open. The Kalpan threw everything at them, but the strike team was unstoppable. A spear driving toward the heart of the ship. They reached the command deck, and Marcus saw the syndicate leader in person, surrounded by elite guards. The reptilian's eyes fixed on him with pure hatred. The janitor, he hissed. You should have stayed cleaning floors. Marcus raised his rifle. Probably. But where's the fun in that? The command deck erupted in violence. The syndicate leader moved faster than anything that size should move. He cleared the distance in a heartbeat, razor-sharp claws slashing through the space where Marcus's head had been. Marcus rolled, fired point-blank into the creature's armored chest. The shots ricocheted harmlessly. Foolish human, the leader snarled. Our scales are impervious to standard plasma? Good thing I brought friends. The Imperial warriors engaged the elite guards in brutal melee combat. Energy blades clashed against molecular swords. The command deck became a whirlwind of violence and death. Marcus scrambled behind a navigation console as the syndicate leader pursued. The creature was stronger, faster, and evolutionarily designed for killing. Marcus had desperation and the willingness to fight dirty. He grabbed a fire suppression canister and emptied it in the leader's face. The chemical foam wasn't meant as a weapon, but it bought 3 seconds. Marcus used them to vault over the console and drive his combat knife into the exposed joint behind the creature's knee. The leader roared, spinning with claws extended. Marcus barely avoided disembowelment. Blood sprayed from a gash across his ribs. The armor had held, but barely. One of the Imperial warriors went down, overwhelmed by 3 guards. 2 more pushed forward, forcing the Kalpan back. The battle was chaos, no clear winner, everyone bleeding. The syndicate leader grabbed Marcus by the throat and lifted him off his feet. Your species is weak. Fragile. You break so easily. Marcus couldn't breathe. Black spots danced across his vision. He clawed at the massive hand, crushing his windpipe. Useless. His rifle was gone, knife lost somewhere on the blood-slicked floor. I will enjoy killing the Empress's daughters slowly, the leader hissed. They will die knowing their human savior failed them. Rage burned through the oxygen deprivation. Marcus stopped fighting the grip and instead drove both thumbs into the creature's eyes. The leader shrieked and threw him across the command deck. Marcus hit a bulkhead hard enough to crack ribs, but the creature was blinded, thrashing wildly. One of the Imperial warriors saw the opening and drove her energy blade through the leader's throat. Molecular steel severed scales, flesh, and spinal cord. The Syndicate leader collapsed, twitching, then still. The remaining Kelphin guards froze. Their leader was dead. The command structure shattered in an instant. "Surrender," the Imperial warrior commanded, blade still dripping. They did, weapons clattering to the deck. Marcus forced himself upright, ribs screaming protest. He staggered to the communications console and opened a channel to the Kelphin fleet. "Your leader is dead. You have 10 seconds to withdraw before the Empress turns you all into expanding clouds of superheated gas." Silence. Then, one by one, the Kelphin warships began jumping to hyperspace. Retreat. Rout. Survival instinct overriding tactical doctrine. The Imperial warrior helped Marcus stay on his feet. "You fought well, human. Stupidly, but well." "Thanks." "I think." The shuttle retrieved them and they limped back to the station. Medical teams were waiting. Marcus waved them toward the wounded warriors first. His injuries could wait. The Empress met them in the docking bay. Her daughters stood beside her, eyes wide as they took in the blood-soaked strike team. "The Syndicate leader?" the Empress asked. "Dead, Your Majesty," the warrior reported. "The human delivered the critical strike." Lyra ran to Marcus, stopping just short when she saw the blood. "You're hurt." "I've had worse." "You're lying." "Yeah, probably." The Empress approached, her expression unreadable. Then she placed one hand on Marcus's shoulder, gentle despite her strength. "Twice now you have bled for my family. This cannot continue." "Why not?" "Seems to be working." "Because you are mortal, Marcus Garrett. Your species does not heal like ours, does not regenerate. You accumulate damage until eventually you break. Everyone breaks eventually." Nova stepped forward. "Then let us protect you for once. You have earned rest." The medical teams finally got their hands on him, scanning injuries, muttering in concerned tones. Broken ribs, internal bruising, severe oxygen deprivation trauma. They wanted him in a medical pod immediately. "Later," Marcus said. "I need to see this through first." "Stubborn human," the head medic growled, but injected him with something that dulled the pain. The Empress led them to the command center where holographic displays showed the aftermath. The Kelphin fleet had scattered completely. Intelligence reports were flooding in about Syndicate operations, across multiple systems dissolving into chaos without their leader's iron control. "You have decapitated an empire," the Empress said. "The power vacuum will destabilize 17 systems. Is that bad?" "It is complicated. Some systems will find freedom, others will descend into civil war. Such is the nature of toppling tyrants." Celeste tugged on Marcus's armored sleeve. "Will there be more fighting?" "Probably. Universe doesn't like peace much." "That's sad." "Yeah. But it also means protectors matter. People who stand between the innocent and the dangerous." The Empress turned from the displays. "You have given my daughters something precious, Marcus. Hope. They see in you what is possible when someone chooses courage over safety. This is a lesson no amount of royal tutoring could provide." "I just did what needed doing." "You say that as if it diminishes the act. It does not. Most beings know what must be done. Few actually do it." Wyra moved closer, her young face serious. "Marcus, will you stay with us?" "Truly stay? Not as a guard or soldier, but as family?" The word hit unexpectedly hard. Family? He'd lost his own years ago. Parents dead, siblings scattered across the colonies, no real connections left. He'd been alone so long he'd forgotten what belonging felt like. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I can do that." The three daughters smiled, genuine and bright. Nova grabbed his hand. Celeste hugged his leg. Lyra simply nodded, satisfied. The Empress watched the scene with ancient eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall. Then it is settled. You are hereby declared kin-friend to the Imperial House. You will have quarters adjacent to my daughters. You will dine with us, travel with us, be present in their lives as they grow. Your Majesty, I'm nobody special. You are a janitor who fought death merchants with a pipe. You are a human who boarded a warship to save thousands. You are the only being in this sector brave enough or foolish enough to tell me no when I offered you power. That makes you very special indeed. Very special indeed. 6 months later, Marcus sat on the station's observation deck, watching the stars. His ribs had healed. The nightmares had faded. Life had found a rhythm he never expected. You are brooding again, Lyra said, settling beside him with a data pad full of homework. Thinking. There's a difference. Mother says humans brood when they think too much about the past. Nova and Celeste arrived moments later, carrying what looked like art supplies. They'd been taking human culture classes and had become obsessed with painting. We made you something, Celeste announced, holding up a canvas. It showed 4 figures. 3 silver-skinned children and 1 human in maintenance coveralls, standing together against a backdrop of stars. Crude but heartfelt. It's perfect, Marcus said, meaning it. The station had transformed over the months. What began as a cultural center had become something more. A true neutral ground where dozens of species mingled freely. The Empress had installed defenses that made it the safest location in the sector. No syndicate remnants dared approach. Marcus had found purpose in unexpected ways. He advised on human integration protocols, helped design security systems that actually worked, and spent evenings teaching the daughters about Earth history and terrible human movies they found hilarious. Marcus, Nova said suddenly, why did you really save us that day? Told you, you were kids who needed help, but you did not know us. We were aliens, strangers. You had no obligation. He thought about how to explain it. My species has a lot of flaws. We fight too much, destroy too easily, can't agree on anything. But we have this weird thing where we decide something matters, and then we're willing to die for it. Doesn't have to make sense. Doesn't have to benefit us. We just decide, and that's enough. Lyra looked up from her homework. That sounds lonely. Deciding alone. Sometimes. But then you find people worth deciding for, and it's not lonely anymore. The Empress entered the observation deck, her presence still commanding but softer around her daughters. I have news. The Council of Aligned Worlds has requested humanity's formal inclusion in the Galactic Compact. Marcus blinked. What? Your species has been observed, catalogued, debated. The action on this station became symbolic. One human protecting alien children when he could have fled. It challenged assumptions about your kind. We're not all heroes. Most of us are just trying to survive. That is true of every species. But your capacity for irrational courage in defense of others, even strangers, even those different from you, this is noted. Humanity will be invited to join the wider galactic community. Celeste clapped excitedly. Does that mean more humans will visit? Can we meet them? Eventually, yes. Marcus felt the weight of it. Humanity had been stuck in its own corner of space, barely aware of the vast civilizations beyond. Now doors were opening because a janitor had refused to let children die. No pressure, he muttered. The Empress smiled. You will help guide the integration. Your perspective is invaluable. You understand both human nature and galactic politics now. I really don't. You understand what matters. That is, more important than protocol. Lyra set aside her homework and moved closer. Will you visit Earth? Show us where you came from? Maybe. Been a long time since I was whole. Then we will go together, Nova declared. As family. The word still hit hard. Family. He'd found it in the strangest way possible, across species lines in the aftermath of violence and terror. 3 alien children and their impossibly powerful mother had given him what he'd lost years ago, belonging. The stars turned slowly beyond the viewport, Somewhere out there, humanity was about to step onto a much larger stage. There would be challenges, conflicts, misunderstandings. His species had a talent for chaos. But they also had a talent for unlikely heroism, for standing up when sitting down made more sense, for protecting the vulnerable even when survivals had run. Marcus looked at the three daughters, at their bright eyes and silver skin and absolute trust. He'd been a soldier who lost his way, then a janitor invisible to everyone. Now he was something else entirely. A bridge between worlds, a protector of innocence, a friend to empresses. "All right," he said, standing and stretching. "Who wants to watch another terrible human movie? I'm thinking we try horror this time." The girls cheered. The Empress sighed but settled in beside them. Guards stationed outside the observation deck smiled at the sounds of laughter within. The universe was vast and dangerous and full of beings who would exploit any weakness. But it also had moments like this. Quiet evenings with unlikely family, watching bad movies and explaining why humans found fear entertaining. Marcus had started as nobody special, a janitor with a pipe facing impossible odds. He becomes something more not through destiny or fate, but through simple choice. The choice to act when action mattered, to protect when protection was needed, to stand when standing cost everything. Very human, very foolish, very right. The movie started. Celeste hid behind Marcus during the scary parts. Nova critiqued the special effects. Lyra kept asking logical questions about plot holes. The Empress watched with the patience of someone who had ruled for centuries and knew that these moments, simple and warm, were worth more than conquest. Outside, the station hummed with life from 100 worlds, humanity's first true home among the stars. Built on the foundation of one man's refusal to let children die. Not bad for a janitor.